be talking a lot about doing a new thing, but just by being here all together with both conferences and a few from Alaska, we're already doing a new thing. So congratulations on being out in the forefront of whatever it is we're in the forefront of. If you got a number when you came in and found a seat in that range of numbers, that's great. The idea, in case you didn't figure it out, was to get you to mix up a little bit and to make some new friends and share ideas with people you didn't know before. If you've done that, we'll give you a chance to introduce yourselves if you haven't done that in just a couple of minutes. Somebody mentioned that we might be starting with worship, and I said, worship? Oh, no. We did think we might start with a prayer, and then I thought, well, we're Methodists, we really ought to start with a song. And since I don't play the piano in public and didn't bring my guitar, we're going to have to start with something really simple. But since we are talking about living and loving and being light to the world, how about a verse or two of This Little Light of Mine? Ready? This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Okay, and let's just have a moment of prayer together before we get any farther. Thank you, God, for this beautiful gathering of people from all over Oregon and Washington and Idaho and a bit of Alaska. Thank you for allowing us to be together, to share your word, to share insights from each other, to share insights from our clergy friends and colleagues, and to look forward to being your people in new ways in the communities that need love, that need to hear it from us. Bless our time together and bless our thoughts and our conversations as we share with each other. Amen. Amen. And we are here as laity, and we know that we have lots of power and lots of ideas, but we're going to start with a greeting from our bishop. I know it's been the tradition in Oregon, Idaho to have the bishop personally present, but in this case, since she's over in Vancouver presiding at 2 clergy sessions, we have to have the bishop on tape. So if you'd watch the screen for a minute, we will see what Bishop Elaine has to say to the laity this afternoon.
Lay members of the Oregon, Idaho, and Pacific Northwest annual conferences who are gathered in the Laity Session today, I bring you greetings in the name of Jesus Christ. I'm Elaine Stanofsky. I'm your new bishop, arrived in September, and I'm just glad that you're gathered and being strengthened for the that you do as lay leaders of your local churches. I want to bring you a story from the area that I served before. I was in Denver. I served Colorado and Utah and Wyoming and Montana. And there's a church in St. George, Utah called Good Shepherd Church. And the way that church started was a lay woman moved to St. George, and there was no United Methodist Church there, and she was a deep United Methodist, and she looked around, she said, this town needs a United Methodist Church. And so she put an ad in the local paper that said, if you think there should be a United Methodist Church in St. George, Utah, meet me at the pizza parlor on Thursday night at 5 o'clock. And from the people who gathered at that pizza parlor, that church grew up and flourished, and it's a very vital place in the community today. It's lay people who live in our communities, who bring not only the gospel of Jesus Christ, but the organization of the church to pull people together into community, to support one another in their life circumstances, and to minister to the people around them. And I just want you to feel that God is at work in your lives, and that you are the front line of the church, paying attention to what's going on in your neighborhood and finding the ways to connect the generosity and abundance of our church life with the needs and possibilities in our communities. God bless you as you meet. May God strengthen you for the ministry that lies ahead.
Hello, I'm Nancy Tam Davis, and I am the lay leader for Pacific Northwest Conference. And Jan and I are not the only co-conspirators in this. I've decided to uncover the other two folks. David Reinholdt and Emily Crone, would you please stand? Okay. Yay! These folks they are our associate lay leaders, and they have been doing a tremendous amount of work, and I didn't want to forget that. Now, today, I know I'm going to do one other thing first. How about all the district lay leaders in both Washington and Oregon? District lay leaders, stand up. Idaho, Washington, Oregon, Idaho. Oh, heck, throw Alaska in there, too. Lay leaders. This is another powerhouse in the organization of the church. And I really appreciated what Elaine said, is that, we're the engine. I learned at a conference this year that laity make up 99.2% of the church. So understand that power as we move ahead. Now, many times they give us lessons in like the 3 things or the 7 things or the 10 things. Well, I'm going to confuse that. I'm going to give you 4 things that we're going to focus on today. And that's, first one is going to be about abundant health. The second one, and I'm going to read my notes on this, or get them in order. The second one is about doing church differently. The third one is about neighborhood ministries. And the fourth one is responding to disasters. Now, after each presentations, you're going to have a chance to talk with one another at your tables. This is why we've mixed you up. You thought it was just a cruel prank on our part. No, we had an intention with this. And you're going to meet folks from other conferences, other churches, other districts, and be able to share your thoughts and ideas about all of these programs. Now, at each table, I'm hoping there is someone who knows how to tweet. Are there tweeters out there? Ooh, we've only got one tweeter. We'll get around to that in a bit. The others, we're going to give you a fast lesson in it. You're going to do the introduction. Yeah. So right now, and one more comment about the 4 areas. What we want you to focus on is what we're calling, and what you heard Elaine talk about last night, is the big why. And think about what you do in your church and why. What's that big why that you do that? So that will be the kind of grist for your conversation. Now, let's see. Oh, golly, there's a lot of us here. We're gonna all introduce ourselves. You hear that groan? I'm going to show you another way to do this. Now, all of you who are able, I want you to stand up. You want your voice to be heard in this world. And what you're going to say in a moment is hello. My name is, and then you fill in your own, and please don't all say Nancy Tam Davis. Hello, my name is, and then you say, I'm happy to meet you. Are you ready? Can you, and just put that voice out there. Okay, all together now. Hello, I'm happy to meet you. Woo! Fastest introduction in history. You may have a seat. Now, before I turn this over to Jan, one short comment about that exercise. That was an experience in efficiency. That was not an experience of quality. Jan?
Okay, so for a little more quality introduction, we'll give you a few minutes at your table to introduce yourself, what your name is, your conference, which should be clear from your name tag by now, but your church, and you might ask around your table now if there's anybody that at least has a Twitter account, even if they barely know how to use it. So there's about 8 people around a table. We'll give you 8 to 10 minutes to do that. Give everybody a little bit of time, but not too much. Okay, does everybody have an idea of everybody else's name at your table? 3 more minutes? Okay, you got it. Awesome. Okay. Is the song at the beginning? Oh, so it's all interwoven. Okay. And you don't want to do that. Okay. How many tables have somebody from all 4 of the states in our area? Anybody have people from Alaska and Oregon and Washington and Idaho? All right, there's one table there. You win the mix-up prize. How many tables have people from 3 states? All right, good for you. Excellent. Well, I was going to have you all practice tweeting, but I tried. Mine's not going through, so I don't know if it's going to work. But if you have a Twitter account, I have a Twitter account. Once in a while I read tweets. I never send them. But it's really easy to send one. You just hit the little thing that says write, and you write what you want. And the hashtag is hashtag GNWAC17. And if you send that, maybe it'll go through and we can share some tweets later. One more little, we're killing a couple of minutes here because one of our first presenters, they're ready? All right. Anyway, at the end of this session, we're going to ask you for a little bit of feedback. This one is different. This green card is, you will find it at the Lay Servant Ministries table. Right next to the women's bathroom downstairs. And it's asking you for some thoughts about lay ministry and what can the Board of Lay Ministry do to better support your ministries. Think about what kind of support you need, and when you have a few minutes, it would be really helpful if you would fill that out and give us some better ideas of how we as your boards of lay ministry can help make your work stronger and better. One more thing before we start our first presentation. There are some orange sheets on your table, and we need you to hand those out so everybody at least can see one. If there aren't enough for everybody, you could share. And you will be using that in just a minute here. We have 4 presentations this afternoon. And 3 of them focus on ministries that are already happening in one of our conferences. The first one is a little bit different. The first one is about abundant health. And this is a new initiative, fairly new initiative as of last year, from the Board of Global Ministries. It sort of builds on the successes of Imagine No Malaria, but this one is bigger and better, and we hope we'll get this initiative really going in all of our conferences this year. Our presenters for this are Reverend Tim Winsley, who sneaked in here, and he's going to have to run out to the clergy session, and Emily Crone, who is our associate lay leader in Oregon, Idaho. So Tim and Emily, take it away.
Good afternoon. So I remember when I was in seminary, my professor of homiletics and hymn writing told me that when Wesley wrote the hymn, "Oh, for a Thousand Tongues to Sing," he was not praying for a congregation of 1,000 people, but that he himself would have 1,000 tongues in his own mouth so that he could sing as a mighty choir by himself. Did you know that? Yeah, well, now you do. So you did okay with that opening song, but we're going to do a lot better with this hymn, right? Sure. Oh, right? Yeah. There we go. Okay, so the hymn is here. You know the tune. We're going to sing a verse and then talk a little bit and sing and talk and sing. Do you want to play through it, Todd? Okay. Let's stand.
And I want you to know that Tim wrote these words.
We know a church. Friends, at the center of life is the need for food. And at the center of our faith is a table. Health begins for our wider community when we are all able to have enough food for our tables. That life can become abundant when the food they eat is healthy and balanced, and moreover is shared among friends. Our churches become abundant when we hear the message of our communion tables, calling us beyond our walls and into the work of providing healthy food for those who are in need. There are churches within our fold that have come to embrace this call and have partnered with congregations from other traditions as well as local businesses and other community partners for the creation of much-needed community pantries. One of the churches in our fold has a pantry that's open 3 days a week, runs on 500 volunteer hours per month, distributes 5,000 pounds of food per month, all grown out of one common 35-square-foot raised bed and 28 other beds for individuals to tend. Let us sing.
It has often been said that one zip code is the greater determinant of your health risks than your genetic code. And this is true, but less so when it comes to mental health. Depression, bipolar disorders, mild psychotic symptoms are experienced by people of all socioeconomic, political, regional, and ethnic groups. And people suffering from such conditions are certainly evident within the church. In fact, the church has a greater number of people experiencing depression, bipolar disorder, mild psychotic symptoms than does the wider society. This is not because we cause them, but people come to us, consciously or unconsciously, because of having a safe, intimate community of friends is one of the most effective means of controlling emotional and mental illness. There is a church within our fold that has come to embrace this call of addressing mental distress directly, sponsoring interviews on spirituality and mental health, partnering with peer-to-peer counseling groups, having county health training come and teach members how to assess their families and friends and know how to make referrals. Dedicating a Sunday every year on substance abuse, another on suicide prevention, another on either eating disorders or sleep disorders are all ways of saying the church must break the silence if we are to bring life and to bring it abundantly. Let us sing.
With close to a third of our nation's gross national product being spent on health care, and nurses being the secular occupation most likely to also be members of a worshiping congregation, you can be pretty sure that this next Sunday you will have a nurse, retired or still working, sitting in your pews. But does that nurse or doctor or physical therapist truly understand their specialized work as also being a religious call? Has your church helped them see the connection between what they do Monday through Saturday as also being the specific work that Jesus did? Matthew 4:23 and 24 says, Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and curing every disease and every sickness among the peoples. So his fame spread throughout all of Syria, and they brought to him all the sick, those who were afflicted with various diseases and pains, demoniacs, epileptics, paralytics, and he cured them. Almost every church has a healthcare provider, and many, thankfully, are intentional about building and supporting and underwriting parish nurse programs, understanding that people will share their health concerns more readily and more honestly to a friend they know than to a provider who seems more interested in their labs and x-rays than their anxieties and their aspirations. Screenings and referrals may not sound exciting, but few abundant health programs will have more impact on the health of your community than will a well-supported and well-funded parish nurse program. Let us sing.
Thank you all for taking the time to listen about abundant health today. And I hope that you'll take this back to your churches and become a sponsor of abundant health in your community. If you'd like to do that and you want to get registered with the Global Ministries, at the Abundant Health booth, which is with the Global Ministries booth, you'll find these purple papers, and you can fill them out, and I will put the information into Global Ministries for you. If you want to do it yourself, just go online. So we'd love for you to join us. We do have 5 churches already who have committed to be abundant health communities in our Episcopal area, and I'm hoping that we can get 500. Thank you.
So now it's your turn. Some of you probably heard some of what Tim and Emily shared with us and thought, well, we're doing that. And that's great. You can start by sharing that. But what we really want you to do is think about something new. What did this presentation trigger for you that might be possible in your community? You might want to keep a few notes on this for tweeting later on. And you might want to keep a few notes on this for yourself so that you won't just sit here and talk and go out of here and forget everything. Because what we really want as a result of today's presentations is for you to go back and do something. So why would you do these things? What can you do? What can you do bigger and better? What can you do that's new? What did you hear that triggered something for you? You have about 10 minutes to discuss this at your table. Good. They turned on a. God, these guys are good. Look at that 3-year experience, and they've got Walkman. Oh, okay.
I think it's time to recollect. Come on back, folks. That's always a risk with Methodists. You know, get them talking. You may never get them back again. But I have to say, I have loved seeing the tweets that are coming up on the screen. Yoo-hoo! How's that? That better? Okay. I have to say, I really have loved the tweets that are coming up on the screen. And it's kind of a chance to sit at each one of your tables, and I appreciate that. We're going to hear from another ministry now. And this one is about doing church differently. You heard about that this morning in the shared plenary session. Sometimes we need to just step out there and do something that others don't expect of us, perhaps. And Lynn Rush, this is Rudalyn Rush, she's going to be here. She's taken this project from an idea and really infused the energy for it to happen. Lynn grew up on a small island, northwest of the Philippines, and she's the oldest of 5 children. This is what I really like. After graduating college, she's taught English in rural China. With the Amity Foundation for 3 years, she met her husband Eric there, and then moved to the United States. They have 2 wonderful children that keep her very busy. And as you think about that, think about how she has time to do what she's done. She's been serving voluntarily since 2016 until now with the Pinoy Van Port Ministries. Help me welcome Lynn, and let's hear her story.
I bring you greetings from the Philippines. Magandang hapon. Pinoy Port Ministries is the name of the ongoing ministry, a new Filipino-American faith community seeking to provide ministries that connect and reach out to those who relate to Filipino-Americans in the Vancouver, Washington, and Portland, Oregon areas. This group aims to provide inspiring and life-giving ministries that cross state lines and cultural divides. We are an open and welcoming group. This ministry was first initiated 3 years ago, a gathering of people from Seattle to Salem for the first event. Indeed, witnessing people come that far to profess their love and joy to God is an amazing opportunity to see. As a Filipino immigrant for about 11 years, and I would introduce myself also that I've been with Vancouver First United Methodist Church for about 11 years as well. I understand the exclusion, gaps, and the challenges of not being a local. In terms of this ministry, it provides familiarity, being able to talk in their own language, and meet new friends. Also, it promotes cultural awareness of different regional backgrounds, since the Philippines is spread out and is made up of many different people. People who come from different Filipino communities can find common ground and mutual understanding. In my church that I go to now, it was preached by our pastor in the beginning of his term that we are all ministers, which means all who follow Jesus Christ. I also believe that the church is the people, and we are here to serve one another. Be there to listen, and be present with everyone in harmony. When Pinoy Port Ministries was presented to me in August of last year, I was questioning, why me? Although I had a mixed emotions of excitement and doubts, I said to myself quietly, that if it is your will, God, that you want me to do this, I am not a preacher, but I will try and give it a try. This brings to mind the call of the prophet Isaiah. Isaiah 6:8. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send? And who will go for us? And I said, here I am. Send me. And I want to show you a video that part of this ministry is I really want the children to get involved. W. So brown is like this, brown and yellow, black and white. They are precious in His sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world. That happened just during our first Easter salo together at somebody's home. And there were many kids, and I said, let's sing you a song, Jesus Loves the Little Children. And I taught them in my Tagalog language, Filipino national language. And I also taught them a little sign language with it, as I was voluntarily helping with deaf students in the Philippines in my early years. As for my calling in this ministry, the focus is to bind the divides between the many affiliated denominations of faith background of Filipino immigrants. And in addition, I also emphasize that with or without religion, everyone is welcome. The point of this is to come united for Christ and to acknowledge the Almighty of all things, whether they are Methodists, Catholics, Baptists, or other denominations, including the unchurched, or those who don't want to be a part of a traditional church. How I began this ministry was with the Filipino immigrants in the Methodist Church, but it has gone beyond that. As I was continuing the ministry, I found some Filipinos who migrated here through interracial marriages, just like my own family unit. As you have heard earlier, Nancy mentioned that my husband and I were teaching in China, in the rural areas, and he is from here. And that's why it made me migrated to the USA. I have met children, youth, and young adults who grew up here who want to connect with their grandparents' heritage. Example is like learning the Filipino language so that they can talk to their grandparents and learn other Filipino customs. As I bring the community of new faith, we continue in fellowship like meeting at a church. And I would thank my Vancouver First United Methodist Church, who has been the host for all the events earlier and for the future. Someone's home, at a coffee shop, unite in praising God, acknowledging His presence through prayers, church songs, social justice music singing, sharing testimonies, games, and awesome potluck to reminiscence food culture of home. From the slideshows are examples of events we just held that are relevant to our situation at the moment. Last month, we had the Peace Tour, ecumenical banquet. Through this event, we were made aware of the displaced indigenous group in South Cotabato, Mindanao, and the Save Our School program for the children of the United Methodist Church in the Philippines. What was amazing was a sharing from an alumnus of Africa University, assigned as GBGM missionary serving in the Philippines with initiatives for peace in Mindanao. Now, this program is very helpful for what is going on now in Mindanao. We need to emphasize is education. We need education. The next event we just had was a prayer vigil for the Philippines, no to martial law in Mindanao. It was a meaningful gathering for us to acknowledge struggles and suffering of people and a call for action in the community. The people who have been with us have experienced sense of community and that they want to make a different faith journey through Pinoy Vanport Ministries. The ministries have a sense of collaboration together for planning and activities we want to do further. One of the members even bought a house in part to use as a venue for our next gatherings. I would call this ministry a mobile church. Just like our founder of Methodism said, the world is my parish. And I find it really one of a kind. If you would like to know more of our past events and join in one of our future events, please contact me personally via email. Overall, it feels like being home, safe, and we can all go back in our own work with renewed spirit after all the gatherings. Thank you all for listening, and God bless you all.
I have no doubt that Lynn heard the call. Have you ever thought to yourself, I'm not young enough, I'm not old enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not Christian enough, I'm not Methodist enough, I haven't done this long enough to really step out and do something amazing. And she has done that, and we can do that. So I really thank you for sharing that story with us. So, you have time to talk again. When and how have you heard this call? And how could you be living into the big why of this in your own faith, in your own lives? Take about 10 minutes. One more minute. One more minute. Some of you tables are having way too much fun. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. Again, I love the tweeting, and the ideas just keep rolling and they keep coming, and I love it. I'm going to give you a different kind of break right now. But first of all, how many of you have ever been to the circus? Oh, how many of you have ever watched the tightrope walker? How many of you are a tightrope walker? Okay. Now, just checking. That was one of the courses in college I never took, but I always thought I should have. Now, have you ever noticed the tightrope walker? He places one foot carefully in front of the other and just kind of slides his feet out into the middle. And pretty soon it looks like, oh my gosh, he's losing his balance. And oh. And then suddenly he jumps up and goes, ta-da! Have you seen that? Stand up. Those who are able, stand up. I think you could do this from your chair too, but it's a lot more fun. So, have you ever stepped out on your own tightropes and made a mistake? Have you ever felt like you were losing your balance? Okay, this is what you do. I'm going to ask you all to say, ta-da! Okay, all ready now? Ta-da! Woo, you're good at this stuff. Have a seat again. That's one of the skills you can take home from conference.
Okay. Are you remembering to write down ideas to take home with you? We want to hear all kinds of feedback in the next few months about the exciting new things that you're doing or the new energy that you bring to the old things because of what you've talked about here today. Not about what you've heard from us, but what you've heard from each other. So our next presentation is generally in the category of neighborhood ministry. And I know there are a lot of churches that are working to reach out into their neighborhoods. And this church has really got that one down. They are in a neighborhood that's changing. Oh, it's changed several times in the time I've been alive and lived fairly close to this neighborhood. They have not only reached out to their neighbors, but they've formed some amazing partnerships with groups you wouldn't think about. And so I would like you to hear from the people from Hughes Memorial Church, and our presenters today are Francine Freeman and Azzy Lee Jones, and they're going to show us a little video and talk to us about the kinds of things they're doing, and your head's going to be spinning with all the things that you could be doing too.
It's just stuff that we do. And it's not just because we, to make anybody look at it and say, look how good they're doing. It's because of the fact, you got to remember where you came from. You got to remember that somebody has went through something before and they weren't able to do it. Yeah. They did it before, back in the day when we didn't have to worry about who your neighbor was. Everybody was family. We called everybody. Hi, Aunt Ruth. Hi, Uncle Ben. We didn't have to be related by blood. Back then, anything that we needed, we sat up there and we gave because we were able to share and do that. And we have lost that. Oh, yeah. We have lost that. So this is like bringing it back. And it's not because of the building. It's because of what we have in here. Yeah. And we remember and we keep on doing it because of the fact that's what we're supposed to do.
she's trying to be funny talking about the tightrope. I know tightrope. Okay. We don't need no microphone, do we? We're going to talk about the things that we're doing in our community. We have partnered with our Head Start in our basement, you know, the early Head Start.
You gotta talk closer to the
I know you can hear me. we have partnered with the
Bigger than our church.
with the Head Start, which is our early educational program in our basement. Every year we give the children Christmas presents, and we also have the lady downstairs choose a family that is in need, and we always give whatever they need. We've done this for the last 4 or 5 years. Now we're doing rag dolls. We go out in the community and do this. We go to the parks. We first started in our church, and then we ventured out into the parks. The kids that are doing these rag dolls, you should see the look on their face when they make a doll. They're able to take these dolls home with them. We use materials that are given to us from seamstress, you know, the little scraps they have left. We use that to make the rag dolls. I'm the one that do most of the braiding for the little hair that they have. We have ladies to come in and help us with this, you know, help the little kids, show them how to make the dolls. This is something that we have really ventured out into. We've been invited to all kinds of places to do this for the little children. It's really something nice. Anybody that wants to come, you're welcome. This will be in one of the newspapers that I guess Jan is doing. So if you want to come, you're welcome to come. Our pastor's name is Robin Franklin. We're from the Hughes Memorial United Methodist Church in Portland, Oregon at 111 Northeast Phelan. And don't let that address fool you, because we're not failing. We're working, trying our best, doing the work, to do the work for the good Lord, to try to make it home. Things are so bad now, we just have to turn to the Lord. So anybody that wants to help or wants to donate or even wants to come and show these babies how to make dolls, you're welcome. And you can take your dolls home. And you see the dolls, they do a beautiful job. And you will see this in the newspaper that Jan has. So we're very, very, very pleased with this. Okay? So this is Hughes Memorial, and this is what we're doing. And now I'm going to let Francine take over. Not on the tightrope, but she's going to take over.
My name is Francine Freeman, and I am a part of Hughes Memorial, and we also have an outreach that started about 4 or 5 years ago. And every third Saturday, we make sandwiches, we give out clothes, and we go to different shelters and deliver them. We also go to the women's shelters, and we take clothes there too for like the women that have children, and we take them there. It's man, you just wouldn't know. It's so good to be able to do something for somebody else and know that it's appreciated. And the video was my voice back there, and I didn't even know I was going to be on there. My daughter recorded that, and we're also a part. And this comes to the part where it's really good, where we started over again and needed more partners. We didn't need them, but they came to us. We have Black Lives Matter, Don't Shoot, Hands Up, Don't Shoot, It Takes a Village, All Lives Matter. All of those groups come to our church, and they bring their food, and they help us with the sandwiches, and they help us with the clothes drive. We've opened our clothes closet up, and we've had it empty 3 or 4 times. and it's been refilled every time. You know, like it says, fill my cup, Lord, and then fill it up and then empty it out when he tells you to empty yourself out so you can be filled up with more of him. Well, he's emptying us out and bringing out more so that we can see more of what we need to do for other people. We also have a garden in the back. And some of the people that are from Hands Up, Don't Shoot, It Takes a Village, Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, whoever it is that is a part of that, you know, the groups that come in, they have people that are part of their groups that are horticulturists. I can't say that real well. And they've been in our backyard and the back of the church and helped out where our garden has gone down and helped us rototiller and put more seeds and stuff that in there. And that way when it's time for Halloween, we got pumpkins already ready for the Head Start kids when it's Halloween season or whenever. But the one thing about all of those groups, those are the groups that everybody's always talking about that's trying to start some trouble. But everybody's starting trouble somewhere, and somebody has to give somebody a chance. Somebody gave me a chance when I was going through my drug and alcohol and all the other things that I'd been through. And I can't sit up there and down anybody, regardless to what group you're in, what church you belong to, whatever your faith is. All I know is that if anybody feels like they want to help somebody, come on and help. God didn't say I'm going to stay inside this building and help somebody. When he sent his son Jesus out into the world, he went to the highways and the byways. And those that people didn't want or didn't even want to associate with, that's who he went with. And those are the ones that helped out. So when Hands Up, Don't Shoot, Black Lives Matter, It Takes a Village, all of those came and said that they wanted to be a part, who are we to turn them away? As a matter of fact, because of them, we've been doing a lot better. And it's because of God placing it in their hearts, as well as ours, even if they don't know it. Even if they don't know it, placing it in their heart to do what they're supposed to do. That's what they did. And from that point on, we've been doing good. This coming, also in the summertime, we have community unity. And that's when we have the hot dogs and the hamburgers, and every now and then somebody might sneak in some chicken or something like that. And we have the potato salad, and we put it out there in the yard of the church, in the parking lot of the church. And we bring the clothes out and put them out there. We also have school supplies that we take out there too, so that the kids can get school supplies. We put so many things out there. Then I had 5 years ago. And the dream was to help people that nobody else wants to touch, to give them a haircut and give them fresh clothes and give them some, a sense of belonging. And he's been doing that for a while. So he comes each year. So this is the third year that he's come to our church and giving out free haircuts and doing things that anybody, that nobody else wants to do. And he's gotten other volunteers from different hair barbershops and hairstylists to come out and do the same thing. So now he's not only doing it at our church, he's doing it at different places. And that's a beautiful thing. But it all starts with that mustard seed. You guys know the story about the mustard seed, huh? And how that faith is about the size of a mustard seed. It all started out with the faith the size of a mustard seed. And now he has a truck, and he's able to put stuff on the back of the truck and go traveling and go further and do more with his ministry. And I'm glad that he's a part of our ministry. So, what we're doing is about what everybody else out there is doing it. But you know what the best part about it is we're bringing the kids in so they can see a better example. I feel like singing. Oh, how marvelous you are to me, and wholeheartedly I long for more of thee, and holy are you, Lord. Holy are you, Lord.
Wow. So, everybody's neighborhood is different. But everybody's neighborhood has needs. And everybody's neighborhood has those partners that we never think about partnering with. I think you won't have any trouble talking about that for 10 minutes.
one more minute. Well, come on back. We have yet one more story to hear. Come on. Are you having a good time? You having a good time? Okay, good. Now we're going to hear about churches and their response in disasters. And we're going to hear about, how many of you have heard about the Carlton, Okanagan wildfires? Quite a few of you. Those happened 1 and 2 years ago. And here to talk about that is Barry Hansen. He's the reconstruction project manager. He's a steel-toed boot and hard hat guy. And he's a guy out there working with volunteer teams to get these homes built. And Rosalie Money, she is retiring this year as the Seattle District Lay Leader and taking on the title of Wildfire Coordinator. I like that, Rosalie, Wildfire Coordinator, woohoo! And in this role, she's the one who recruits and manages volunteer teams to go to work on the homes for survivors. They will tell you, but I will say this again. I believe there are still 24 families that are homeless because of those fires. And they're waiting and they're praying and they're hoping. So let's listen to this story.
Okay.
You're not ready yet.
I'm not ready yet?
No, you're not.
Okay. Can we have the slides, please?
Before we begin, I have a person we want to give a shout out to, and that is Karen Fisher. She's the Seven Rivers District Lay Leader. Where is Karen? Way in the back. We're going to be talking about what has been going on in her district. And Karen, yes or no, loudly, is the pink wall on the line? She wrote a story about a pink wall that a little girl, one of the survivors' daughters, wrote. Ask Karen how you can avail yourself of it. It is wonderful. So we want to thank Karen for her versatility in writing and so on. Barry, I really hope you can sing.
Not today. All right, let's begin. In 2014, in Okanagan County, we experienced a series of fires that are known as the Carlton Complex, and it was the largest fire in Washington State recorded history. The next year, we were hit again with one even larger set of fires being called now, they call them mega fires, known as the Okanagan Complex. It was devastating. At times, the fires were racing at speeds of up to 3.8 acres per second.
And when you lose everything, what does that really mean? It means your home and security are gone. When you lose the infrastructure of the area, all the things that hold your community together, the roads, the telephone poles, on and on, when jobs and livelihoods are disrupted, when there is so much wrong going on, it only can result in so much bad for people. Nightmares, mental health issues, school problems, domestic abuse, suicides. But still, people searched and sifted through dirt and ashes and trash for something from their former life.
These figures that you're seeing on the screen here in just a second, these figures represent not only over 500 acres or 500 homes that were lost in these two wildfires, but also there was over 1 million acres of forest, rangelands, farms, and orchards that were burned. Wildlife, livestock, fencing, power lines, and roads were destroyed. To get a grip on the magnitude of this next slide has an overlay that shows our fires over the top of the Seattle-Tacoma area. If you look at this, you can see the fires would have covered nearly all of Puget Sound, from Buckley and Bonnie Lake in the south to past Linwood in the north, and from the Sound to the mountains. It's an area larger than the state of Connecticut.
When you consider all the facts, the number of people displaced, the devastation, but still people need to eat and sleep and take care of families. So where do you begin? How do you decide how to restore families and communities?
Volunteers came from different faith backgrounds. They worked together, something that was relatively unique to long-term recovery groups. People were amazed that differing religion groups could work together. Somehow, that's not standard practice across the country. But they did, not just there, but actually working together, side by side. People came just wanting to help. No ulterior motives or to prove anything, just to help. You might say that God was there. I'm sure, I know God was there. Volunteers were involved in every aspect. And I'm now referring to Methodist volunteers that have been instrumental to all of the facets of the rebuild, from planning, strategizing, finding volunteers, being volunteers, raising funds.
People began to see, as homes took shape, as foundations were poured, walls went up, they began to see that it might just be possible that they have a new home, and that it was really happening. And consequently, hope began to ease back into these families. But how really did the laity answer the challenges of the rebuild? As a Seattle District lay leader, I've been a member of our Board of Laity in the Pacific Northwest Conference. We were challenged with, and we accepted the decision to raise funds as a Board of Laity. Simple answer to a difficult challenge, huh, Nancy? And the rest of the board. But we talked about it, and our creative kicked in. And we began doing a variety of things. We took educational trips, and we gave talks, we wrote, we asked for donations. And personally, when you ask money, we don't like to talk about money. I had to get over asking for money. I can do it now. But we have to respond. I thoroughly believe Christ tells us to help each other, and it is up to us as lay people to get the tools to do so. We have to help each other. Does anybody disagree? Do not tell the bishop after she talked to us last night. One important way that Pacific Northwest Methodist was responded was by volunteering for UMVM teams. By a show of hands, how many people know what UMVM is? Most everybody. For those of you who don't know, it's United Methodist Volunteers in Mission. And if you volunteer to become an UMVIM team member, you automatically know you've got hard work ahead of you. In 2016, there were 78 teams. Now, this is not just Methodist teams, but it's all these multi-faiths teams that Barry just mentioned. About a third of those were Methodists. There were 843 volunteers. This summer, this year, in 2017, I have, because this is where I do my work, the volunteer teams. We have about 18 teams that either are already committed to go or are in the discernment process. And some of these teams of volunteers have returned 2 and 3 and 4 times. I call them the amazing faithful.
Laity have been integral to the formation and development of the recovery organization. Partners and agencies work together to develop ongoing recovery systems and plans. But our work is not completed. That is why you are so important as laity leaders to take this back to your churches and not be afraid to ask our churches, your churches, for money. Let's follow the example of small churches that have actually put the ask for money for the up from the rebuild into their budgets. Laity have invited communities. We've actually, as Laity, gone outside of our churches and enlisted our communities into join with them, because this isn't just a church thing. Disaster of this size is the responsibility of everyone. So I give you the challenge to take this back to your churches. Lead the way. This is a laity-driven drive. This is our responsibility. We are the laity. And I would just like to say, we were asked when we first started, when we were getting ready to do this presentation, to answer the question of how has this been life-changing for us. And for me, kind of the answer simply was that this was the most important thing I've ever done. That's part of the answer. The other part of that is this is probably the hardest thing I've ever done, but it is the most important because I've had the privilege of traveling with all of these clients that go from total devastation, complete loss of faith in their fellow human beings, and no sense that there's anywhere or any way for them to recover. And go through that journey to the point where we finally help them find what is a new normal. And that is a privilege, and it has literally, it could take all night to tell you how it's changed my life, but that's really what it's about. So we're now in phase 3 of this project, which is the 3rd year.
Can I back up,
Oh, I'm
please?
sorry, go ahead. It's your turn. Yes. Rosalie, it says Rosalie right here. Slide 20.
I came into this a little differently through the Board of Laity. In January of 2016, it really began. Came to annual conference last year, and I don't know who said what, but Barry and the executive director and Jim Truitt gave presentations, and we had talked about this in the Board of Laity. And I was walking across the parking lot on my way to the car after of one of the days, and there is a slide with this, that I had a physical sense that God was pulling me, and I said he was kicking me in the seat of the pants. I mean, it was real. And he said, Rosalie, you're going to do something. Go out and do it. Well, the $64,000 question was, he didn't tell me what. True story. So, annual conference ended. On Monday, I sent Jim Truitt an email. He took care of that decision. So here I am today. As a result, my life has changed in ways I did not anticipate. met people of all kinds that I admire and I've worked with, and the doors continue to open. It is an extreme passion of mine. There's some members here from Des Moines. They are sick and tired of hearing me about this. But it's real, kids. It's real, and it is so important. Imagine if you had just been burned out, not 1 year, but sometimes 2 years.
So again, the work is not done. We're now in phase 3. We've had 2 years. We're into the 3rd year. And the 3rd year, we're mostly, at this point, unfunded. So we have funds for nearly 3 homes, and thanks to the offering last night of almost $31,000 added to the money that's already been raised in this project, we should be at about $180,000. That's a good start towards what we have challenged ourselves as Methodists to do, which the total on that would be $450,000. So we've still got some work to do. We've got 6 homes that are part A of phase 3 as we can raise the money. And then if we raise the money, we're going to try and get the last 6 of phase 3 and finish that up.
It costs about $92,000 to build one home. It's about a 950 square foot home. Barry just said we have funding for nearly 3 homes now. And as he said, there's more work to be done, lots of work. As a district lay leader, soon to be retired, I'm still going to take this opportunity to encourage each of you to return to your churches and communities to pray, reflect, and create ways to raise funds for hurting families and communities. How many of you know what 352 is?
That's right.
It is the Advanced Special 352. Say it with me. 352. 352. Don't forget it. I may ask you, it may be a test walking down the hall. But anyway, this number represents hope and new life for survivors.
You and I, we, together can make a difference. Methodist laity are a powerful force. Let's go and help someone, for together we can make a real difference. And I would like to just take a moment to take note of the fact that in listening to Bishop Elaine's message last night, it was clear to us at the end of that what we are doing here and now as laity, with this laity drive, is the essence of all that she was challenging us to think about over the next 4 years and to act on. So, please, Rosalie and I will be here for the rest of the conference, and we're here to answer any questions that you might have. And we want to thank you for your help and your prayers and your commitment to these people who have lost so much. And it is appreciated more than you can know. Thank you. We have brochures and a table back in the back there that has more information and brochures that you can take home that have that number, 352, in it. So, again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Having been a little familiar with this project, I want to tell you a couple of things because we always think there's help out there somewhere else. There's some program that'll help. What we found with these wildfires is that many people couldn't get fire insurance because they lived too far away from a fire station. I don't know if any of you have experienced that. You could get it, but what they found out was the price of fire insurance was more than the mortgage that they paid monthly. The other folks, we thought, well, FEMA will step in and help. We've heard about that. FEMA said, no, the population isn't dense enough. So there was no hope. For the families that this program is working with, there are no other resources. So I'm going to let you chat about this for a bit. Back to your table conversations. We're going to give you 9 minutes on this one. Okay.
Okay, so they took considerably more than their and I really hope people talk about not just how I think we don't. Well, people kind of doing that all the time. I'm kind of thinking maybe we go sort of combine, hold this into this. And while you're having something like that, yeah. You know, sure, I think you're right. I wrote the forms, so I go swipe one, but at least I know what they said. Yeah, I would totally with that. I don't know what it looks like, but I'm pretty sure it's there. Oh crap, it's not here. Oh, where is it? It's in my room. Well, they don't know. Yeah, that's okay, I can get it.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have a closing prayer. We do have a closing prayer, so we have a real conclusion. Yeah, okay. Okay, I hope those conversations weren't too much of a disaster. Sorry, had to do it. We're going to wrap this up now. We keep telling you we want you to go back and do something, not just sit here and talk. So in this last conversation time, we want you to really think back through the things you've heard today, through the possibilities for your own church setting, and what do you think you can actually do based on the things you've heard today? Something about health, something in your neighborhood, something to respond to a disaster, something about starting a new faith community or helping people do church in a different way. And speaking of doing church in a different way, the advanced special is doing church in a different way, but only for the PNW conference. If you're in Oregon, Idaho, and you want to help beyond what you did last night in the offering, we'll find a way to do that. But the 352 number is really specific to Pacific Northwest Conference. So, so yeah, they forgot that part. Oh, you can do it. I know you can do it, Scott. So in this last time, try to find at least one thing that you're going to do and to take back with you, and write it down somewhere where you'll see it when you get home. But we also want you to write it down somewhere else. We're going to, while you're talking, we're going to bring you a little sheet of paper that we'd like you to fill out. And we'd like you to put down one best idea that you heard today, and then what your commitment is going back. And it may not be to start something new. It may be to bring new energy to something that's already happening. What's your commitment? And then the last question is, what training or support do you need to help you do that? And this can be anonymous if you want. If you'd like some kind of follow-up or you just want us to know who you are, there's a place at the bottom to put your contact information. And when you leave today, don't leave until we do the closing prayer, but when you leave, there are some baskets at the back door, and if you would take this piece of paper you're going to get, fill it out, and drop it in one of those baskets, it will really help us to know how better to help you help transform the world. So you have a few minutes to talk about that, and we'll get these out to you so you can fill them out.
Okay, are you about ready for a wrap-up here? Anybody need more time? Then come on back. And I think we're going to have a prayer here, if I can bring up that screen. If not, I'll just read it myself. How's that? Oh, there we are. Could we say this together? Lord, we know you have heard us. You have heard the ponderings of our heart. You have heard us utter hopes and commitments. You have heard our fears and worries. You have heard us. Clear our pathways. Give us the courage to step into your ministry and mission. Help us bring about your kingdom on earth. May our work bring hope to those in despair, bring peace to those in strife, and bring the new, the lost, the denied, the forgotten, and the hopeful to your table. Amen. Now I'm going to do one more thing with you. As you said that amen, I used to think amen meant the end. And it really doesn't mean the end of the prayer. What it means is kind of so be it, but not just so be it, or even as Jean-Luc Picard would say, make it so, number one. It had more gusto to it than that. So I'm kind of hoping for a little gusto this time when you say amen, and I want your amen to just echo through these walls of saying, let it be so. So you ready for this amen? All together now. Amen. Woo! I love it. Remember, you're 99.2% of the church, and you are all part of creating God's world here. Go forth and do, and the emphasis is on the statement, do. Go forth and do. Now, you have your yellow sheets of paper. Please don't forget to put those in the baskets at the door, because that's what's going to tell us laity leaders what to do. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, and your wonderful conversations. Have a great afternoon.